Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84. So a couple of weeks ago I released a video that featured all of my true tropical varieties and varieties of tropical guava. That's Psidium Cattleianum. And I did say, if these don't get blown over in the next couple of minutes, that I would be doing a follow-up video that would feature my Psidium Cattleianum, which are the yellow and red cherry guavas or strawberry guavas, depending on where you come from. That's the Cattleya or Cattleya guava, but depending on where you are, they're referred to red or yellow strawberry guavas or lemon or red cherry guavas. Anyway, I thought I'd do a quick video roundup of what I've got for people that are interested, because I've got quite a collection of them. Not that they vary much, because they don't have named varieties as such. They're simply sourced from different places, and there can be some variation in the fruit size on them. So starting with the one on the left, and I can't even remember where I've got some of these from or how long I've had them. This one is a yellow cherry guava. I know it's yellow because it had a fruit last year which turned yellow, and if I get a bit closer you will see that this one is actually carrying some fruits. Now we're late in November and these are nowhere near ripe. Obviously I've been growing the plant outside, so I'm going to move it into the kitchen, or somewhere in the house, which hopefully will encourage these fruits to keep growing and ripening. It hasn't got a bad number. I suppose it's probably got about 15 odd fruits on it in total. It had a lot more flowers, but they don't have a very high percentage of fruit set. But I did get one off this last winter and it was yellow and it was quite pleasant. So these are quite a good size, and they're definitely bigger than the strawberry guavas. And I really can't remember if I bought this one from a nursery or if it was one that I've had for a very long time. Now this small one here is one that I think I originally got as a seedling from eBay probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it didn't really grow for the first year or so at all, but it's now got to be quite a strong plant. It was probably sold as a strawberry guava, but of course there's no way to know until it flowers and fruits one day whether it will be a yellow or red one. Now this one here, this plant here, originally came from jungle what's it called, jungle plants? Jurassic plants. Not jungle, Jurassic plants. In fact you can see it's got their typical label on it, and it says Psidium Cattleianum strawberry guava. So obviously this one's not got to the size. I think I've had it, maybe I got it last spring of last year, so maybe I got it in 2021. It's grown quite nicely, hasn't flowered yet, but it's definitely a size where it'll flower next year. But one assumes it will be a strawberry one, and I'd hazard a guess that they grow them from seed as likely as not. So we don't know what's going to happen with those. Now I'm just going to move to this one here. Now this one came originally from Victoriana Nursery, and they were advertising it as a red strawberry guava. A red guava with large pear-shaped fruits. Well, that's not going to be the case, because as soon as it arrived, I think they were selling it basically as a tropical guava, but as soon as it arrived I knew from the leaves that it was a regular Psidium Cattleianum or strawberry guava. And this one hasn't flowered until now, but in fact I think if I can find them, I'm fairly sure. Let me pause the video. Oh no, there they are. This one has started to develop its first ever flower buds in November. Now if I move it inside, then it's quite possible they'll flower, but I would say it'll just be a standard strawberry guava. But it's a strong, healthy plant, and I'm very pleased with how it's done. It's another plant they no longer have in stock anymore, and you can see it's been putting out new growth in the last month or two outdoors. You can tell from that nice red tinge. So I'm pleased with the progress on that, and we'll obviously see what happens over winter and over the next year or so. Now this large one here is a yellow or lemon cherry guava. It's definitely a yellow one. I had a few fruits off it last year that got to an edible size, and this one actually is completely and utterly, I hope you can see, this is loaded with fruits, and it's still, this maybe has 40 or 50 fruits on it, and this is obviously still outside, so I'm planning to move this inside again to see if I can encourage the fruits to keep growing and ripening. As I said, the yellow ones tend to produce a bigger fruit than the red ones, or at least so far in my experience, but these are not far off mature size. The problem is they're obviously nowhere near changing colour. I mean, last year I think I had some in about August, September, because it flowered earlier, and this year, despite the warm summer, it's running way too late. But I mean, it's absolutely smothered in fruit, so I'm going to do my best to get them to maturity. Even this weird branch that comes out here has got fruits on it, and I think what I might have to do, because this is such a daft shape, I might try, because I've never done air layering, I might try and air layer this one here so that I get another plant, and then this will branch out further down the branch and make a nice shape. It is starting to finally put some shoots out from the base, but it's got this long bare stem here, which is not ideal for my growing position. But as I said, I'm really pleased with this yellow variant and how much fruit it's got on it, because if these all made it maturity, I'd virtually be feasting on them. Whoops. So I'm just watching the wind here. It's going to probably knock this one over. Let me just pause the video a minute before... No, I think we're okay. I think the breeze has stopped again. I'll run round and catch it. And finally, at the back, I've got my largest one that I've had the longest. I've got this 2018 from Canarius, sold as a red strawberry guava, and obviously I've featured it recently in videos, and you will have seen that it has actually got, as you can see, ripening fruits on it. Not a huge quantity compared to the large yellow one, but nevertheless it has been consistently ripening fruits. Unfortunately, they're quite tart, not very sweet. Now I think that might be because of the time of the year. It was absolutely covered in flowers this year, but actually hasn't produced anything like the quantity of fruits that the flowers had suggested it was going to produce. Nevertheless, as you move around it, you keep finding fruits in other areas, but this is another one that I think needs to go inside if I want these fruits to ripen properly and perhaps develop a bit of sweetness, because I think the problem is outside it's just too cool for them. But nevertheless, it's a nice sized plant, and I think I'm really going to have to cut these back quite heavily next spring, some of them, before they come outside, and trying to get them a little bit more compact. It will delay the flowering, unfortunately. That's the downside of cutting them back, because then it takes them a couple of months to get going again, enough to flower, and that you end up with late fruits like this. But it really is getting a bit too big for my growing conditions. Haven't had any luck rooting guava cuttings. I don't know if I was to take some cuttings of this plant whether or not they would successfully root, because I'm sure I've got friends who'd be delighted to have a plant, or I could sell them probably on one of the auction sites or somewhere similar, because they're not the easiest plants to get over here. But nevertheless, it is fruiting. Now the interesting thing is the fruits are very dark on it, and if you look in videos in other countries, quite often they're a lot brighter, paler scarlet colour than this. So there is a possibility, as they also sell them, that this might be a purple forest guava. Ooh. So I'm just watching the wind spread to try and knock the plants over. Yeah, just caught that in time. Right, well that's as good a time as any to stop the video, since the wind's obviously starting to come up now, and it's going to cause me problems with the plants being blown over. So I'm going to thank everybody for watching the video. Those are my Psidium Cattleianum plants. That's my full collection. No, it isn't actually. I'm just going to stop the video because I've just thought of something else. yeah, sorry, I got interrupted there because the wind suddenly came up and I wanted to move that very tall thin one out of the way because it's very top heavy, so that's definitely going to have to be cut back next year and put into a bigger pot. But anyway, I nearly forgot one, most importantly, because of course I've got one in ground. So we'll have a wander around and have a look at that as well. Now, because it hasn't, although it's flowered, it's never fruited, I don't yet know. Here she is. It's recovered very well from the dieback. Obviously it got last winter because they're not an outdoor plant here, but as I've got a very sheltered spot, I thought it'd be worth trying to grow it. And it looks very, very healthy now, not surprisingly, because it's been in ground all summer. And of course plants tend to do better in grounds than they do in pots, even in our climate. Now of course if we get a cold winter, I might end up with this plant dying, I don't know. But I don't know if it's a yellow or red variant, because again it was bought from a supplier who just listed it as a strawberry guava, but they always call them strawberry guavas whether they're yellow or red. It did flower heavily this year but didn't set a single fruit. Now that might be due to the shock it suffered last winter, because obviously we had not particularly cold weather, but enough to cause the plant a fair bit of damage because they're not very cold tolerant. But I'm hoping that if it survives this winter without serious dieback, that perhaps it will flower again next year, and maybe I can put one of my other pot grown varieties near to it, because it might get better fruit set on it if it's cross-pollinated with another one, because not all of them are particularly self-fertile, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, I thought you'd be interested to see, because that's my experiment, to see if one can survive here in the ground and actually produce fruit. Remains to be seen. It probably didn't flower any later than the ones in pots that were kept indoors, but that doesn't mean it's going to set fruit. So let's wander back to the others. Wander through the twig jungle now that autumn is here and they've all dropped their leaves. So I'm pleased with how these are doing, pleased with the huge amount of fruits being held on this one. As I said, I'm going to move it inside right in front of the window, I hope, and see if we can get some fruit ripe on it so we can do a tasting in a month or so's time. Probably going to ripen about Christmas looking at these. Thank you for watching the video, much appreciated as always. Please give me a thumbs up. Welcome to share it if you think anyone's going to be interested. Please subscribe to my channel and remember to click on the bell if you do want to get updates on when new videos come out. I'll catch up with you all soon. Brett out for now.